Good Saturday morning. This is the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing. A look at our fire impacts for the next several days, starting with today. We should see an expanding area of isolated to scattered thunderstorms across western northern Nevada, getting up to southern Idaho and maybe the northwest corner of Utah. This activity pushes a bit further to the east on Sunday. So these will be our two high impact days for lightning, and unfortunately that'll be followed by a dry punch of wind across western and northern Nevada and southwest Idaho as we head on into Monday. So these are our concerns over the next 3 days. In terms of the past 24 hours, we had a fair amount of lightning across northeastern Nevada. That was more on the dry side. A lot of this lightning activity further to the east was fairly wet, as you can see by some of the precipitation on the left-hand side, and also across Utah and the Arizona Strip. They've had a fair amount of precipitation and high humidity for quite a few days. However, still dry enough to cause large additional fires. You can see those new fires in the red. We had a moderate initial attack yesterday with a few dozen fires. Larger fires in the open circles, existing fires in the yellow. So we're getting ignitions still over a fair amount of Utah and getting bigger across northern Nevada, where fuels are most critical, and starting to see more ignitions and smaller fires popping up across the higher terrain of central Idaho. Precipitation-wise, quite dry across many areas over the past week, except for south and eastern areas where they've seen a bit more of a touch of the monsoon. Notice that the last 30 days it's been fairly dry, and also dry across much of southern and central Idaho. It's not until you get into northern Idaho where they were fairly wet. So a lot of these areas up here in our north are drying out. Our ERC map bears this out. A lot of the ERC starting to get down towards the 70th to 80th, even approaching the 90th percentile in a few spots up in Idaho, and that trend will continue. The moistening trend should continue across southeastern Idaho and into the Arizona Strip, but still some pockets of critically dry ERCs, 80th to 90th percentile. And out there in Nevada, the ERCs are not particularly high. However, the issue there is with the finer fuels drying out, 10-hour fuels being critical, and a very good grass crop, 200 to 300% of normal grass loading in a lot of these areas. So that's what's driving a lot of our current fire activity. Look at our satellite imagery. We see subtropical moisture with the monsoon starting to rotate around the prototypical Four Corners high, which is actually over Colorado. This moisture will swing up northwards through here, so we do have concerns for thunderstorms across parts of Nevada and southern Idaho in the short term. It is this deeper low pressure system, though, which will push in behind the thunderstorm activity by late Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, with increasing southwest winds and also some drier air. So here's a look at our upper level map on the left-hand side. Strong ridge of high pressure building well up into southern Canada. This area in the dark here is mid-level moisture, enough for isolated scattered thunderstorms, not enough to produce a lot of rain. Be scattered about. Here's our best chance of getting lightning with the least amount of rain over our most critical fuels, the high risk here in the red. Any showers or thunderstorms further to the east and north should be fairly benign and not cause large fires. And if we click over to the precipitation map on the right-hand side, you see these little specks through here indicate where the model thinks there could be some thunderstorm activity. See the best concentration in these areas in the green, this isopleth through here into southern Idaho. On the left-hand side, the winds, moderate, just a normal wind day. These dark greens are 15 to 20 mile an hour winds. Elsewhere, lighter, isolated downdrafts could have locally higher winds in the vicinity of these thunderstorms. Now for tomorrow, this thunderstorm activity gets pushed off a bit to the north and east. You can see our lightning activity kind of shifts towards that way as well, perhaps looking a little bit more ominous than it really might be, probably just over eastern Nevada and going into parts of Utah and eastern Idaho. Wet elsewhere. On the map, we see that moisture shifting over. We also see drier air punching in with this trough of low pressure dropping down from the north, and that's going to be our next concern. We'll talk about that in a second. In terms of winds, fairly light overall, except in the vicinity of thunderstorms where some downdrafts could occur. And you can see actually with the best area for thunderstorm activity in this shade of green here from our computer models is starting to push out from Nevada into Utah and southeastern Idaho and out towards Wyoming, where it should be wetter and fuels are wetter. As we go into Monday, a dry punch of air, these tannish colors, we haven't seen this approach our area in quite a while. Also the tightness of these height lines here in the yellow indicate strengthening winds, and this is where we have high risk because fuels here are quite dry, as well as the grasses that we saw, and also There could be some leftover lightning from 24 hours previous. If we look at the winds, you see that wind field expand. These areas in the orange indicate wind gusts of 25 to 30 miles per hour, maybe even 35 in those areas of purple. You can see the humidity drops down into the single digits across a good portion of western Nevada and southwest Idaho, and only a tad higher as you head further to the east. Precipitation over the next 3 days, not that much actually reaching the ground. This is a more coarse model. A lot of the deep monsoon stays to the south. That's why we have concerns with lightning here in the short term. And as we go towards latter part of the week in Tuesday, a dry punch of air, a good shot of wind. We may have to look at extending high risk for these areas, especially depending on how much lightning we get. This could really push any fires that do pop up during this time. On Wednesday, that could continue, although the activity shifts a bit further to the north. Notice that green, that monsoonal moisture, makes a return to southern Nevada, southern central Utah. Areas here starting to get greened out. As we go into Thursday, same story. Start getting wetter thunderstorms across Utah and parts of Nevada even. And on Friday, again, similar story. The monsoon returns to our southern and eastern areas. Precipitation during the 7-day period, a lot of this will come through later in the period where we'll get some more wetting rains across Nevada, much of Utah. And then looking at the 8 to 14-day outlook. Continue this cooler than normal signal indicates the monsoon being in full force in these areas in green, chance of above normal precipitation. This concludes our briefing. Have a great day.